In the packed courtroom of Manhattan's Southern District, Scott Harlan slammed his fist on the podium, his voice echoing like thunder as he dismantled the prosecution's case piece by piece. Across the aisle, Jamie Reyes locked eyes with him, a smirk playing on his lips that only Scott could read as something far more intimate than rivalry. But as the judge called for recess, Scott's heart raced not from the legal battle, but from the forbidden thrill of what awaited them after dark. Scott had always been the golden boy of Harlan and Associates, a prestigious firm where his father, Senator Harlan, pulled strings from the shadows. Growing up in the affluent suburbs of Connecticut, Scott learned early that success meant conformity. Straight A's, Ivy League, and a path straight to the courtroom where emotions were weapons, not weaknesses. But Jamie was different. A first-generation Mexican-American from Brooklyn, he clawed his way through law school on scholarships and sheer grit, representing the underdogs in high-profile civil rights cases that often pitted him against powerhouses like Scott. Their first clash was over a landmark discrimination lawsuit 2 years ago. Scott, defending a corporation accused of firing an employee for being gay, argued procedure and precedent with cold precision. Jamie, for the plaintiff, tore into the hypocrisy, his passionate pleas highlighting the human cost. The media ate it up, Harlan versus Reyes, Battle of the Titans. Little did anyone know, after that grueling trial ended in a narrow win for Scott, the two adversaries shared a drink at a dimly lit bar, where banter turned to confessions and a stolen kiss ignited a fire neither could extinguish. Now, as Scott gathered his notes during recess, he felt Jamie's gaze burning into him. They had rules. No contact during work hours, no public displays, nothing that could jeopardize their careers. Scott's family was conservative, his father's political ambitions hinging on a flawless image. Jamie, outspoken on social justice, risked alienating allies if his personal life became fodder for tabloids. Yet, the secrecy fueled their connection, turning stolen moments into electric encounters. As weeks turned to months, the case intensified. It was a class-action suit against a tech giant for algorithmic bias affecting LGBTQ+ users. Scott, on the defense, argued innovation over intent. Jamie, prosecuting, exposed the real-world harm. In court, they were fire and ice, but at night, vulnerability surfaced. Jamie shared stories of his youth, bullying in school for being different, finding solace in activism. Scott confessed his own hidden struggles, crushing on a classmate in high school, burying it under expectations. One night, after a particularly brutal cross-examination where Jamie cornered Scott's witness, they met in a neutral hotel room. "Why do we do this?" Jamie asked, tracing patterns on Scott's chest. "Fight like enemies? Love like this?" Scott paused, the weight of his double life pressing down. "Because out there, we're defined by sides. Here, it's just us." But doubt crept in. Jamie wanted more: dinners in public, introductions to friends. Scott resisted, fearing exposure. The conflict escalated when a reporter sniffed around. During a press conference, she asked Scott point-blank about rumors of a personal stake in LGBTQ+ issues. He deflected smoothly, but inside, panic surged. That night, Jamie confronted him. "Are you ashamed of me? Of us?" Scott's denial rang hollow, sparking their first real fight. "It's not shame," he insisted. "It's survival. My father would disown me." Jamie's eyes flashed with hurt. "And what about me? Am I just your secret thrill?" The argument lingered, poisoning their intimacy. In court the next day, Jamie's attacks felt personal, Scott's defenses sharper. Colleagues noticed the tension, whispering about bad blood. Yet, beneath it, longing simmered. Scott began questioning his choices. Was his career worth the isolation? Jamie, too, wrestled with compromise. His ideals demanded openness, but love pulled him back. As the trial neared its climax, a key witness for Jamie flipped, swayed by Scott's team's pressure. Victory seemed within Scott's grasp, but at what cost? That evening, Jamie showed up at Scott's door, uninvited. "We need to talk," he said, voice steady. In the quiet of Scott's luxury condo, they laid bare their fears. "I crave more than this," Jamie admitted. But if it means losing you, Scott pulled him in, the embrace a silent promise. For the first time, hope flickered. Maybe they could bridge the divide. The verdict came down like a hammer. Not guilty. Scott's team erupted in cheers, but his triumph tasted bitter. Across the room, Jamie's face was a mask of professionalism, though Scott caught the flicker of devastation in his eyes. As the courtroom emptied, Scott lingered, hoping for a glance, a sign that their world hadn't shattered. In the days that followed, silence stretched between them. Scott buried himself in work, prepping for his next big case, but Jamie's absence gnawed at him. He scrolled through old texts, reliving stolen laughs and whispered dreams. Jamie, meanwhile, threw himself into community work, speaking at rallies about equality, his words a veiled cry for personal freedom. Friends noticed his edge, but he brushed it off. How could he explain the ache of loving someone who chose shadows? One evening, Scott's father hosted a gala for his senatorial campaign. Dressed in tuxedos, the elite mingled under crystal chandeliers. Scott schmoozed donors, his smile practiced, when he spotted Jamie across the room, invited as a token diversity guest. Their eyes met, a spark igniting old flames. Later, in a secluded balcony, Jamie cornered him. "Congrats on the win," he said sarcastically. "Must feel good, burying justice." Scott winced. "It wasn't personal." Jamie laughed bitterly. "Everything about us is personal." The confrontation unearthed buried resentments. Jamie accused Scott of privilege, of using their relationship as an escape without commitment. Scott fired back, calling Jamie naive for ignoring real-world repercussions. "Coming out could end my career," Scott argued. "And yours. Activists aren't supposed to sleep with the enemy." The words hung heavy, but in the heat, they kissed, desperation overriding logic. It was reckless, but the risk thrilled them. Word spread subtly. A photographer snapped a blurry photo of their balcony moment. By morning, social media buzzed with speculation. Harlan Jr. and Reyes? More than rivals? Scott's phone exploded with calls from his father, furious about the scandal threatening his image. "Fix this," Senator Harlan barked, "or you're out." Jamie faced backlash too. Colleagues questioned his integrity. Donors pulled funding from his causes. Panicked, Scott suggested they deny everything, go underground deeper. But Jamie refused. "I'm tired of hiding," he declared during a tense phone call. "This isn't love. It's a cage." The ultimatum hit Scott like a gut punch. For the first time, he considered the societal chains binding them. Homophobia in politics, machismo in Jamie's community, the cutthroat legal world where vulnerability was weakness. As pressure mounted, Scott sought solace in unexpected places. He confided in a colleague, an older gay mentor who had come out decades ago. "Love demands courage," the man advised. "But so does survival. Choose wisely." Jamie, grappling with his own doubts, attended a support group, hearing stories of couples torn by similar divides. One tale mirrored theirs, a politician and activist who parted ways, regretting it forever. The turning point came at a protest Jamie organized against the tech giant's policies. Scott showed up anonymously, watching from the crowd as Jamie spoke passionately. "We fight not just for laws, but for lives," Jamie proclaimed. Scott's heart swelled. This was the man he loved, unfiltered. After, they met in a coffee shop away from prying eyes. "I saw you," Jamie said softly. "Why?" Scott took a breath. "Because I crave more too. More than winning cases, more than approval." They talked for hours, dissecting their fears. Jamie admitted his activism sometimes blinded him to personal costs. Scott confessed his family's expectations had warped his self-worth. Tentatively, they sketched a path forward, small steps toward openness, like attending events together as friends. But doubts lingered. Could they weather the storm? The media frenzy escalated when the photo leaked fully. Headlines screamed, "Secret affair rocks legal world." Scott's father demanded a public denial. Jamie's allies urged him to leverage it for visibility. Torn, they faced a choice. Embrace the chaos or let go. In the eye of the storm, Scott stood before a mirror in his high-rise apartment, practicing a statement. "No comment on personal matters," he rehearsed. But the words felt like betrayal. Downstairs, paparazzi swarmed, turning his life into a spectacle. Jamie, holed up in his Brooklyn flat, fielded calls from supporters, some cheering the power couple, others decrying the hypocrisy. Their first joint crisis meeting was in a neutral park at dawn, hoodies disguising them. "We can't run forever," Jamie said, his hand brushing Scott's. "Let's own it." Scott hesitated, visions of disinheritance flashing. But Jamie's resolve stirred something deep, a yearning for authenticity over artifice. "Okay," Scott whispered. Together, the decision ignited a firestorm. They issued a joint statement. "Our relationship is private, but our commitment to justice is public." Reactions poured in, praise from LGBTQ+ groups, vitriol from conservatives. Scott's father cut him off financially, labeling him a disgrace. Jamie lost a major grant, accused of compromising principles. Navigating the fallout, they leaned on each other. Nights became sanctuaries of raw emotion. Scott venting about lost family ties, Jamie sharing fears of professional isolation. Their bond deepened, intimacy born from shared adversity. But societal pressures tested them. Anonymous threats, online harassment, even a brick through Jamie's window with a hateful note. Scott's firm pressured him to resign, citing conflicts of interest. "You're a liability now," his boss said bluntly. Jamie faced similar scrutiny at his nonprofit. "How can you fight bias while dating the opposition?" a board member asked. The questions forced introspection. Were their careers incompatible with love? Did society demand they choose? Amid the chaos, glimmers of support emerged. A viral op-ed defended them. In a divided America, their story bridges divides. Invitations flooded in for interviews, panels on LGBTQ+ rights in law. Tentatively, they accepted one, a podcast where they discussed the intersection of personal and professional lives. "Love doesn't fit neatly into boxes," Scott said on air. Jamie added, "But hiding it perpetuates the very discrimination we fight." The exposure brought unexpected allies. Scott's estranged sister reached out, revealing her own hidden struggles. "I'm proud of you," she texted. Jamie's family, initially shocked, warmed as they saw his happiness. A cousin confided, "You've given me courage to be myself." Yet not all was rosy. A rival lawyer exploited the scandal, filing ethics complaints against both. Hearings loomed, threatening disbarment. In preparation, they pored over documents late into the night, their old rivalry resurfacing as collaboration. "You always were too aggressive," Scott teased. Jamie grinned. "And you too cautious." Perfect balance. The ethics board convened in a sterile chamber, echoes of their courtroom battles. Witnesses testified to perceived biases, but Scott and Jamie countered with eloquence. "Our relationship enhances our empathy," Jamie argued. "It doesn't corrupt it." Scott added, "Denying love to preserve appearances is the real ethical lapse." The ruling cleared, with warnings. Relief washed over them, but scars remained. That night, in Jamie's arms, Scott murmured, "Was it worth it?" Jamie kissed his forehead. "Every bit. But the fight's not over." As they rebuilt, new conflicts arose. Scott considered politics, inspired by Jamie's activism. "Run for office," Jamie encouraged. But doubts nagged. Could a gay couple thrive in that arena? Society's progress felt fragile, backlash ever present. With the ethics storm behind them, Scott and Jamie emerged stronger, but the world kept testing. Scott dove into pro bono work, defending LGBTQ+ clients, a shift that alienated old colleagues but earned Jamie's admiration. "You're changing," Jamie noted during a quiet dinner, their first public one. Heads turned, whispers followed, but they held hands defiantly. Social media amplified their story. Harlan Reyes trended, a mix of inspiration and ire. Supporters shared fan art, haters spewed venom. One viral thread debated, is their romance genuine or a PR stunt? The scrutiny invaded privacy, leaked emails, doxing attempts. Jamie installed security. Scott hired a publicist. This is our life now? Scott sighed. Jamie nodded. The price of visibility. Family rifts deepened. Senator Harlan publicly disavowed Scott in an interview. Personal choices have consequences. The words cut, but Scott found solace in Jamie's unwavering support. Build your own family, Jamie advised, introducing him to his vibrant circle. Queer artists, activists who embraced Scott warmly. Jamie's challenges mounted too. A conservative group targeted his nonprofit with lawsuits, claiming bias. They're using us as ammunition, Jamie fumed. In response, they launched a joint initiative, a legal fund for LGBTQ plus professionals facing discrimination. Crowdfunding soared, turning adversity into action. Intimacy evolved amid the turmoil. Mornings started with coffee and debates on current events. Evenings with walks in Central Park, discussing dreams. I want a future with you, Scott confessed one sunset. Marriage? Kids? Jamie's eyes lit. If we can make it work. But reality intruded, adoption barriers, societal judgments. A major plot twist hit when Scott's ex-girlfriend from college resurfaced. Now a journalist, threatening to publish old letters implying he faked straightness for gain. It's not blackmail, she claimed. It's truth. Panicked, Scott confided in Jamie. I was confused back then. Jamie listened, then hugged him. We all have pasts. Face it head-on. They preempted the story with an op-ed co-authored, Our Journeys to Authenticity. It humanized them, sparking national dialogue on fluidity and coming out. Polls shifted slightly, more acceptance, but polarization grew. A conservative talk show host railed, they're undermining traditional values. A progressive podcaster praised, trailblazers. Professional opportunities arose. A law school invited them to lecture on ethics in relationships. In the auditorium, facing skeptical students, they shared unvarnished truths. Love complicates, but it also clarifies, Scott said. A question from the audience. How do you handle betrayal? Jamie glanced at Scott. With forgiveness and growth. Betrayal struck closer when a mutual friend leaked private photos to tabloids. Trust shattered, they argued fiercely. Who can we rely on? Scott yelled. Jamie, tearful. Each other. That's all. The breach forced boundaries. Fewer confidants, more isolation. But it also forged resilience. They attended therapy, unpacking traumas. As high tide approached, Scott's father suffered a health scare. A heart attack amid campaign stress. At the hospital, Scott confronted him. Your disapproval nearly broke me, Scott said. Senator Harlan, weakened, whispered, I was wrong. Protect what matters. Reconciliation tentative, but a start. Jamie faced his own family trial. His traditional parents visited, awkward at first. Over dinner, his mother asked, Does he make you happy? Jamie nodded. More than anything. Smiles broke through, bridges mending. With wounds healing, they planned a getaway. A weekend in the Hamptons, away from chaos. On the beach, under stars, Scott proposed informally. Let's make this official someday. Jamie agreed, but whispered, when the world's ready. Hope bloomed, but shadows loomed. Elections neared, culture wars raged. Back in the city, momentum built. Their legal fund gained traction, aiding dozens. Media portrayals softened. A documentary pitched their story as Modern Romeo and Romeo. But controversy brewed. A bill in Congress targeting LGBTQ plus rights, sponsored by allies of Senator Harlan. Scott lobbied against it privately, leveraging family ties. This affects us all, he told his father, now recovering. The senator wavered, eventually voting no, a quiet victory. Jamie rallied publicly, speeches drawing crowds. Love is political, he declared. Their united front inspired but exhausted them. Personal tolls accumulated. Sleepless nights from threats. Therapy sessions unpacking anxiety. Do we regret going public? Scott asked one evening. Jamie pondered. Regret the pain, but not the freedom. Their love, once secret, Now a beacon, but at what cost to sanity? A climactic event, a national conference on civil rights. They keynote together, sharing their saga. We started as rivals, Scott began. Became lovers in hiding. Jamie continued. Emerged as partners in truth. Applause thundered, but a heckler shouted, traitors to your causes. Security escorted him out, but the words echoed. Post-conference, reflection hit. In their shared home, Jamie's apartment now theirs, they dreamed of normalcy. A quiet life? Scott mused. Jamie laughed. With us? Unlikely. Yet, they cherished mundane joys. Cooking together, binge-watching shows, debating cases. The ultimate test came when Jamie was offered a judgeship, a dream role, but requiring impartiality scrutiny. Our relationship could disqualify me, he worried. Scott encouraged, fight for it. We've come this far. Hearings grilled them on biases, but testimonials poured in, affirming their integrity. Appointed, Jamie donned robes, Scott beaming from the gallery. Pride swelled, but new dynamics emerged. Jamie adjudicating, Scott arguing before him. Conflicts of interest loomed, forcing tough choices. Scott switched firms, focusing on advocacy. Years condensed into moments. Anniversaries celebrated openly, a quiet wedding with close friends, adopting a rescue dog symbolizing new beginnings. Society evolved unevenly, progress in cities, backlash in heartlands. Their story became lore, taught in classes on social change. But fulfillment wasn't without longing. Scott sometimes missed anonymity. Jamie, the fire of pure activism. We traded secrets for scrutiny, Scott reflected. Jamie nodded. And gained everything. In the end, their journey circled back to that first courtroom clash, now a fond memory. As they aged gracefully, mentoring young lawyers, one question lingered in quiet conversations. Had they truly won, or just survived? Is it ethical to prioritize personal love over professional integrity in a society that demands perfection from its public figures?